The first and only story of the day that I want to talk about is Robert Mueller spoke up for the first time in a long time / ever. I think through the 2 years of the Mueller investigation, he didn't say anything, just writing and, such. And the second part, which I'm probably going to start with because I think it's even more important, which is Julian Assange is hospitalized. WikiLeaks put an official statement out, and people close to him have said that he's in very bad condition. He can barely even speak to the lawyer. And I want to talk about how the Assange and the Mueller story actually connect in many ways. First off, I think they're trying to basically kill Julian Assange. They don't really have a good case against him. First, years ago, they tried to say he raped somebody in Sweden. They said that for 4 years in the mainstream media, and that case ended up, I believe, getting dismissed because they had no evidence. Probably wasn't true. And now they were looking for something for Julian Assange, and they charged him with 18 accounts under the Espionage Act of the United States, even though he's not a United States citizen. And their main proof of how he did what he did, I read it, doesn't really add up to me. I think it's a huge stretch, so I do believe that they're trying to pressure him and probably not getting him proper food, nutrients. He hasn't had sunlight for a while, and they're probably not letting him get doctor care. I guess now he has it, but for the last year or so, he didn't have proper care. So I do think they're trying to kill Julian Assange for the WikiLeaks that was very related to the Mueller report. We'll talk about that. So prayers for Julian Assange, whether you love him or hate him. I do believe that he has the right to a trial, and if they have such great evidence against him, they should just, let him be healthy and serve in court. Let the courts decide rather than try to, kill him, basically, to lack of a better, sugarcoating it. On the Mueller report story, I watched the full 9 or 10 minutes or however long it was of Mueller, and he didn't really say much. He said a lot of nothing, and basically he said they didn't have evidence to charge Donald Trump. They couldn't find him guilty. However, they couldn't find him innocent as well. So it was very, very sneaky wording in my personal perspective from Robert Mueller. In the United States, I can't speak for all other countries, but we have something which is they're trying to get rid of. I wouldn't say it's gone, but they're trying to use social justice and women's activism and now this Trump thing to knock over our cornerstone of our justice system, which is you're innocent until proven guilty. You've heard that quote or that phrase many times. But apparently when it comes to Donald Trump, instead of just saying he's innocent, we couldn't find anything, they worded it in this way of like, well, he's not guilty, but we're not sure that he's innocent. That means he's innocent in the United States, innocent until proven guilty. But with the Mueller report and the Mueller findings, it was never really about Russia collusion in my personal perspective, because and I think this is something hopefully level-headed liberals and progressives can agree with as well, there's so much influence in the United States, whether you like Trump or hate Trump. Russia is probably the least of our concerns, as at least what they said Russia did, because when it comes to foreign influence in media in our elections, Al Jazeera, if you ever see Al Jazeera, I mention it a lot because it's true, Al Jazeera has way bigger reach than this whole Russia social media manipulation. They said Al Jazeera probably reaches more people in a week than these Russian private people reached in a year. And Al Jazeera is state-funded by Qatar. You have China, who hacks us all the time and funds a lot of our entertainment industry. You have Canada, Great Britain, or the UK, who has their media companies that are state-funded. The amount of foreign influence in the United States is just mind-bogglingly overwhelming. So I don't think they ever cared about that. I think they cared about two things. One, now that Julian Assange is gravely injured, I always kind of knew this, but it's really the dots are really connecting now. They are really mad at Julian Assange. He leaked these WikiLeaks, which made Hillary Clinton look bad by pretty much exposing, what she was doing and saying. And they feel that it changed the course of the election, or, and it possibly, just to be honest, it definitely had some sort of impact. It showed a lot about her. And they were never really over that. So that's why you see Julian Assange gravely injured in a hospital, and you see the nonstop Mueller report because they didn't want to lose the election to Trump. They lost the election to Trump. Julian Assange played some role in that, and they hate him for that. So I don't know how long they're going to drag this out, but this Mueller speech, to me, was basically doing what MSNBC and CNN continuously does, which is like, it's not over yet. You know, it's maybe tomorrow, maybe tomorrow. They had 2 years where they said, the Mueller report is going to make Trump guilty. The Mueller report is going to make Trump guilty. People were like, it's Mueller time, it's Mueller time. Mueller report comes out, he says, not guilty, but not innocent. It's like Game of Thrones, you know, season 10,000. So I think it's for the ratings. It's for their agenda. They've kind of lost everything that they ever did. I don't know exactly what the Democratic Party used to do, but now they're the party of impeachment, the party of Trump works with Russia, which is so ridiculously bananas. They did 2 years of investigation, couldn't find a single thing. Meanwhile, while they're investigating Trump for Russia collusion, Dianne Feinstein, they reported that she's a senator Democrat from California. She was working side by side with a Chinese spy for like 2 decades. So it's like they're investigating Trump, and all this other foreign collusion is coming out with all their candidates. They brushed it under the rug. And I want to say, I forget his name, Robert Davey maybe? An actor was mentioning something on Twitter today which reminded me of a great video by Yuri Bezmenov, who worked for the KGB in, I believe, the 60s and 50s and 70s. And he defected and came over to the United States and spilled the beans about what the KGB was doing. And if you really want to talk about Russian interference and Russian influence in the United States, admittedly by top KGB agents, they were trying to demoralize the United States by turning their own citizens, our own citizens, against ourselves via the academic industry, or whatever you would call it, academia, the entertainment industry, and kind of manipulating the political ideology of the United States by making them further left. This is not me saying this. This is Yuri Bezmenov. It's a great video. Look it up. Yuri, Y-U-R-I, Bezmenov, B-E-Z, I don't know, Manov. It'll hopefully come up in the Google searches. But it's like, the reason I'm saying this is that not only the Mueller speech, but the whole Trump worked with Russia. Not only did he not work with Russia, not only did they have no proof that he worked with Russia, not only did they admit that he's innocent, but now it's not innocent until proven guilty. It's innocent, but we're just going to keep milking it for ratings and votes and political narrative. You know, it's all about the narrative. So if they lose that, they lose everything. You have CNN losing ratings, you know, their lowest ratings in a long time, because their whole brand was based off Trump, Russia, Trump, Mueller. So they probably told Mueller, hey, can you come out and say something that makes it look like it's going to go on and on and on? And he did that. And I don't know if it's irony or hypocrisy or whatever words you want to say, but the Russian interference in the United States, they would not want someone like Donald Trump to win. Donald Trump, and this is not just me saying this, this is top progressives like, what's his name, Kyle Kalinske and others. These are far left people who admit this as well. Trump's actually been harder on Russia than Obama was. Not maybe his rhetoric. Trump's like, I'll be mean to you, I'll say nice things. He's a real game player. He's like, I'll say this, do this, but he's always finessing, trying to get a better relationship. But his actions have been tougher against Russia. So not only is he not being nicer to Russia militarily or you know, whatever ways that he's going against them, but actual Russians wouldn't want the economy to be good. Actual Russian interference wouldn't want the military to be stronger. Like, Trump is a total, you know, war hawk in a sense. I think he doesn't want war, but he's not soft. He wants the military to be strongest, and he doesn't take any crap per se. So why would Russia want a leader that is boosting the American military and economy? Russia would want the exact opposite. They would want somebody who collapsed the economy and collapsed the military and turned citizens into, like, you know, people who are not weak and self-hating, which is a lot of the modern day left. I'm not saying the right wing's perfect. There's definitely flaws that the right wing needs to work out. There's things that Trump's doing and that Republicans do that I can't stand. But if you really analyze the situation, I do think the modern day left wing is extremely self-hating, extremely, you know, not so much led by changing yourself to change the world, similar to why I always talk about California politicians. The ones that are the loudest talking about Russia and talking about Trump and the Mueller, they live in a state where the poverty is the highest, homelessness is growing out of control, they have the highest taxes, so the working person and the businesses are getting crushed. Poverty is growing, homelessness is growing, but they never actually address those problems. It's more just like self-hatred. I hate myself. Like, let's say there's 10,000 genders and xenophobia, racist, bigot. Meanwhile, they accuse everything of being Russian, but God forbid you say something that it's so ridiculously mind-boggling. It actually might drive you insane if you care too much about it. That's why I turned off my phone for 12 days, and I'm not that invested in it. All I could say is God bless Julian Assange. I hope that he stays healthy because in the world in general, I think everybody, whether you love him or hate him, deserves the right to a fair trial, or a trial indeed. I don't think they should be pressuring him and trying to lower his health. That shows that they're very, very angry, and I think that's a lot of what the Mueller report was about. I don't think it was ever about foreign collusion because, like I said, the amount of foreign collusion with China, not only involving our politicians, but our tech companies, our schools, our entertainment industry. Name something that China isn't influencing. They'll never talk about China because a lot of the politicians, a lot of the media companies, and the academia, system is already in bed with China, so they'll never talk about that. They'll never talk about Qatar because Qatar actually has a very successful media organization. They only talk about RT, Russia Television, and Sputnik, and these loser 20 Russian kids who did like 1/8 of what I do in 2 months. And I'm not saying that to be great or like, oh, I'm so special, but if you take the numbers of what they said that Russia did on Facebook, it's not that big at all. I literally did more, and all these other foreign influenced media organizations, they do more in a week than these Russians did in a year. So that wasn't the big scoop. The amount of other countries, I could go on, but the amount of other countries and their influence in the United States that are never talked about. Also, Trump mentioned it the other week. I was pretty pumped about it. He said the words military-industrial complex. It's not just foreign countries that are influencing our politics, but it is also, big corporations, military corporations, pharmaceutical companies. You name it. There's so much influence in our politics that it's just laughable to say Trump, Russia, and act like that's the whole scoop. So only somebody that is filled with too much hate for the president and watches too much television would believe that. And I pray on that note, I want to not only pray for Julian Assange, but I want to pray for people who believe this stuff, because I actually, all jokes aside, I feel really terrible for people who've been waiting for 2 years for this Mueller thing just for it not to happen. Just for him to come out here and try to lead them on to the next episode. It's like watching these superhero movies. At the end of it, they're like, but wait till the next one. And everyone's like, oh my God, I gotta see the new Avengers. They're like, wait a second, Thor plus Batman plus Catman plus Ratman plus Ant-Man plus Dogman plus Cat Dog Man. And the Mueller report coming soon. It's all a big scoop to get you to see the next thing. And with the Mueller speech today, that's all it was. He basically said, Trump is innocent, but we're going to pretend like we're not quite sure. It's just insane. I've been over this story for 2 years, but hopefully this is the end of it, because the amount of corruption in American politics from tech, from foreign countries, and from corporations in the United States and out is so huge. It's like being in a forest with 100,000 trees and pointing to like a twig and being like, that twig is going to take over the forest. And you're like, but what about all this other stuff? I'm not even just talking about Democrats. There's other Republicans who, Trump could never be as corrupt as them in their wildest dreams, or in his wildest dreams, or in mine. You get it. It's just such a stupid narrative. Meanwhile, our cities are getting dirtier. Homelessness is growing. The ocean is filled with plastic. I wish environmentalists would do that instead of just saying climate change. And, I don't want to get into all that, but you get what I'm saying. There's 20 million things that we could be focused on instead of this Mueller report. So I really pray that liberal voters especially wake up to this reality and pressure their huge circus of 55 awful people. Someone needs to tell them quality over quantity. You need one good candidate to beat Donald Trump. You don't need 50 low IQ clowns. It's not going to work. They're like, what if we combine 70 people and then we'll try to beat Trump? It's like, no, you just need one good guy. But you're not allowed to be a good guy anymore. They've manipulated social justice, feminism, environment. I don't know what the Democratic Party hasn't turned on its head. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not like shilling for the Republican Party. I'm not a fan of theirs either. But the Democratic Party is literally almost living an upside down world, and I think they're not going to change until either they get blown out of the water next election, or liberal voters especially. I know a lot of conservatives listen to me, and that's awesome, and libertarians and such, and some progressives too, and liberals hopefully. But I really hope that liberal voters wake up and demand something better from their party, because it's really getting goofy. And I've noticed something before I leave. I've talked to a lot of liberals and progressives, and one thing that I find almost every single time I have a conversation with them, and maybe we disagree a little bit, I talk about 2020, and I'm like, I try to say, you realize, even though you don't like Donald Trump, that's fine. You realize that the Democratic Party, instead of creating a solution that's going to beat him and creating like a better candidate and a better strategy, they just keep digging themselves in a hole. And almost every progressive or liberal will say to me, I think Trump's going to win 2020. So it's almost like this self-defeating thing. I'm not a giver-upper. Like, if I like a candidate, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to, like, even when I liked, Bernie Sanders, when I thought he was a matrix breaker and wasn't a total, like, socialist communist, I was like, against all odds, I'm going to try to help him win, or I want to see the underdog win. I thought he was the outsider. I don't have that defeating ideology where it's like they hate Trump. They're so mad all the time. They're like, he's the worst. And then I'm like, so are you going to win the next election? They're like, no, we're not going to win. It's that self-defeating ideology. It's like, find a candidate who will beat him. Instead of spending so much energy on Donald Trump, look at the Democratic Party and be like, let's get some common sense there. But I think it's a lot easier to scapegoat all your problems and just pour all of your hate and discontent onto one person or one party. It's definitely not a solution. So I pray that the left wakes up and realizes this whole Mueller narrative is awful. And with Julian Assange, I really hope that nothing happens to him. He deserves a fair trial at least, and I hope that the truth comes to light with all that stuff, because I want to see what's going on. And I understand, and he understands, that what he did, Julian Assange, it's a very risky thing. He's going against all the biggest power players in the world and the governments. He knew what he was doing. He knew that he was doing something dangerous. So I don't think this is anything that he would be shocked by. He took a big risk. But at the same time, I do believe when it comes to this type of stuff, a lot of what the government is doing is extremely alarming, probably extremely illegal. And, people who expose that, I don't personally believe are the villains. In my reality, they can be the hero, because there's a lot of stuff going on, and someone has to, expose that in some way, or else it just gets worse and worse and worse. And that's what big government really is. That's why I'm more right-leaning now. I believe not only the Republican Party isn't libertarian enough, but big government just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, to the point where you can't say anything about it. You can't expose them. You can't have an opinion. They just want to swallow up everything. They want to swallow up the health industry. They want to swallow up the television. They've already kind of swallowed up mass media. Now they're working with tech companies. They want it all. So that's why I want to, take the power and the money away from the government via more freedoms for us, and also less taxes. That's why I feel the way I feel, if you're wondering. But anyway, that's it for today. God bless you guys. God bless your family. God bless America, and God bless the world. This seems strange. I haven't live streamed in a month. It's kind of tripping me out, but I had a good time, and hopefully you did too. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you guys for supporting, and it's awesome to see that I can take a break and still have high numbers and a lot of support. And I scheduled a post. Actually, to be quite honest, when I left, I did bigger numbers when my phone was off. I had my biggest week on Facebook maybe I've ever had, just by scheduling posts. I was like, man, maybe I'll disappear more often if that's the case. But thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for being understanding for my break. And also, a lot of people said I inspired them to take a break, which is cool. I don't want you to disappear and never see you again. But yeah, if you want to take a day break or something from your phone, it's kind of chill. But so Donald said holiday. Not quite a holiday. I just took a little break from my phone, and then I just visited family. But thank you guys. I'll be back with more stuff now, and I have a lot of videos planned. So this next week and a couple weeks, I'll be back to way more videos than I've done this last month. So thank you guys for understanding that, and see you soon. Thanks for being here.